Have you ever had that feeling that something in your business is off? That there's some invisible friction slowing everything down, costing you money, and just frustrating your team? Well, today we're talking about the tool that top consultants use to find that friction: process mapping. Think of it as an X-ray for your business operations. It lets you see the hidden problems so you can finally fix them.
You know, every single company has what's called a hidden factory. Now, it's not a real place with smokestacks. It's the sum of all the wasted effort. The unnecessary rework, the endless approval loops, the delays that have just become, well, normal. You know what I'm talking about, right? That report that 3 different people have to reformat, that customer email that gets bounced around 4 departments. These are the silent killers of productivity, and process mapping is how we hunt them down.
All right, so here's our game plan for today. First, we'll shine a light on that hidden factory. Then, we'll build the case for why mapping is so critical. After that, we get practical, with a 7-step blueprint you can actually use. We'll look at what kind of map to choose, and, this is crucial, the 3 big mistakes people always make. And we'll wrap up by clarifying the difference between process mapping and value stream mapping.
So let's really get into this idea of the hidden factory. Picture your business as a big, flowing river. Now, the hidden factory is all the junk beneath the surface. The rocks, the tangled branches, the old tires that you can't see, but that are absolutely wrecking the flow. Process mapping is basically the sonar that lets you see everything under the water, so you can go in, clear out the obstacles, and get things moving smoothly again.
At its core, a process map is your secret weapon for understanding how work actually gets done. It's a visual that shows who does what, when, and where. But here's the magic. Once you have it all laid out visually, you create this shared understanding. It's no longer just a gut feeling. And from there, you can finally ask the most powerful question in business. Wait a second. Why are we doing it this way?
I love this question because it gets right to the point. This isn't about tiny tweaks. It's not about shaving off a few seconds here or there. It's about fundamentally challenging why the process exists in its current form. When you start asking questions like this, you open the door to huge breakthroughs. You're not just improving, you're transforming. And that's how you get those massive leaps in efficiency.
Okay, so we know mapping helps us find waste, but what's the real business case here? I mean, why should you invest the time and effort to do this? Well, the simple answer is that the return on that investment is enormous. Let's break down exactly what you get out of it.
The value really comes down to 3 main things. First, you get clarity. Everyone's on the same page, you can spot the bottlenecks with your own eyes, and you can make decisions based on facts, not guesswork. Second, it's a launchpad for improvement. It becomes a baseline to track your progress, a fantastic tool for training good people, and it makes managing change way easier. And finally, you get consistency. And a consistent process means you can deliver a great customer experience time and time again.
All right, ready to get your hands dirty and actually build one of these things? It's really not as intimidating as it sounds. There's a proven 7-step blueprint that will take you all the way through. And we'll break it down into 2 main phases: planning and doing. The first 4 steps are all about planning. And trust me, you don't want to skip this. First, select your process. Be super clear about what problem you're trying to solve. Next, define the scope. You have to know where the process starts and where it stops. Then, figure out your resources. Who needs to be in the room? Which people actually do this work every day? And finally, pick your technique. What kind of map are you going to draw? Okay, once your plan is solid, it's time to execute. Step 5 is to interview the people who live and breathe this process. And you have to listen, really listen to their experiences. Next, you map the as-is process. This is the big one. You're documenting reality, not the fantasy version from the employee handbook. Finally, you get the team together and analyze that map. This is where you find the waste, brainstorm ideas, and build your action plan.
I cannot say this enough. This might be the most important rule of all. You absolutely have to map the process as it really is, warts and all. We all have those official procedures, right? But then there are the workarounds and shortcuts that people create just to get the job done. That's the gold you're looking for. A map of the perfect process is useless. A map of the messy, complicated reality? That's a tool that can change everything.
Now, not all maps are built the same. You need the right tool for the right job. You wouldn't use a street map to navigate the ocean, right? It's the same with process mapping. So let's look at the 2 most common types and figure out when to use each one.
Think of a basic process flowchart as your standard roadmap. It just shows the sequence of steps to get from A to B. But a deployment flowchart, what we call a swim lane chart, is more like a highway map. It shows you who is in each lane. Sales, operations, finance, and crucially, when work has to cross from one lane to another. If your process involves handoffs between different teams, the swim lane chart is absolutely your go-to.
So what happens when one of your steps is really complicated? Let's say you're mapping out how to make a pizza, and one box just says, prepare the dough. Well, that's a whole thing on its own. Instead of cluttering your main map, you can create a sub-process for just dough preparation. This keeps your high-level map clean and easy to follow. Plus, you can reuse that sub-process anywhere else you need to make dough. It's a great way to handle complexity.
So you've got the plan, you've got the tools, you're ready to go. But wait, before you jump in, let's talk about the 3 biggest potholes that I see teams fall into time and time again. Knowing what these are ahead of time can save you a world of trouble.
Pitfall number 1 is trying to map a cloud. See, process mapping is amazing for things with a clear start and finish, like fulfilling a customer order. That's transactional work. But what about something like develop a new marketing strategy? That's a creative, open-ended process. Trying to map that is like trying to draw a box around a brainstorm. It just kills the magic. So the lesson is know when to map and when to just let things flow.
Okay, pitfall number 2 is a classic whodunit with the wrong suspect. Imagine your hotel has slow room service, so you meticulously map out every single step the room service team takes, but you find nothing. Why? Because the real problem is that the housekeeping department is hogging the elevators all morning with their carts. You mapped the wrong process. The moral of the story is make absolutely sure you're investigating the right crime scene before you start drawing chalk outlines.
And the last big mistake is what I call the process map beauty pageant. This is where teams get obsessed with making a perfect, clean, beautiful-looking map. The problem is they end up hiding all the messy stuff. But the messy stuff is the entire point. The goal isn't to create a work of art to hang on the wall. It's to find the ugly, inefficient parts of the process so you can actually fix them. Always remember, an ugly map that's true is infinitely more valuable than a beautiful map that's a lie.
Now, to really take your skills to the next level, we need to talk about the difference between a process map and its more powerful cousin, the value stream map. They look similar and they're related, but they're used for very different things. Let's clear this up once and for all.
Here's the easiest way to think about it. A process map is like a city street map. It shows you the roads and the turns, the sequence of steps. A value stream map, or VSM, is like that same map, but now it has real-time traffic data overlaid. It shows you exactly where the traffic jams are, how long you're sitting and waiting at each red light, and how much time is wasted in transit. A VSM adds critical data like cycle time, lead time, and error rates. So, a process map shows you what you do. A value stream map shows you how long it takes and how much waste is in the system.
So there you have it. You now have the consultant's toolkit for finding and fixing the hidden waste in your organization. The only question left is, what are you going to do with it? I want you to think about that one process. You know the one I'm talking about, the one that drives everyone nuts, and make that your starting point. You'll be absolutely amazed by what you uncover. Now go find that hidden factor.